The night sky over Earth Colony Delta 5 was silent, except for the sound of cold wind passing through the broken metal towers. The human survivor, Ethan Cole, walked slowly among the ruins, his boots sinking into the gray dust. Once this colony was full of life, families, children, laughter. Now only the sound of loneliness echoed. Ethan's face was covered with scars and his eyes burned with quiet anger. He was the last human left here, or so he thought. Then he heard it. A weak cry, soft, trembling, and not human. He raised his weapon and followed the sound into a half-destroyed bunker. Inside he found a small figure lying on the ground, a young alien girl no older than 15 in human years. Her skin shimmered faintly blue and strange markings glowed on her arms. Her breathing was weak and her clothes were torn. When Ethan aimed his gun at her, she didn't move. Instead, she whispered, her voice breaking, "Please, don't kill me, my family. They left me here to die." Ethan froze. He had seen her kind before. The Zorathians, the alien race that destroyed his colony, burned his city and took everything from him. But something in her voice stopped him. There was fear, but also pain. The kind of pain he understood too well. He lowered his weapon slightly. "Why did they leave you?" he asked coldly. The girl's eyes filled with tears that glowed like tiny blue lights. "Because I'm broken," she said. "I couldn't fight like them. I was weak. They said I was useless." Ethan didn't answer. He should have hated her. Every human he loved was gone because of her species. Yet now the monster he wanted revenge on was a crying child, abandoned by her own people. He turned to leave, but her trembling voice stopped him again. "They'll come back. For the rest of your kind. You have to run." He looked at her sharply. "The Zorathians are returning?" She nodded slowly. "They think all humans are dead. But if they find you..." She paused, her breath shaking. "They'll make you suffer like they made me." Ethan's anger burned again. The memories returned, fire, screams, the smell of burning metal. He clenched his fists. But instead of rage, another thought entered his mind. If the aliens were coming back, maybe this girl could help him get his revenge. He knelt beside her. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Lyra." "All right, Lyra," Ethan said quietly. "You're going to tell me everything about your people. Every weakness, every ship, every leader. And in return, I'll keep you alive." Lyra looked up in surprise. "You'll help me, even though I'm Zorathian?" Ethan's eyes were cold. "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it so your family and your kind will regret everything they did." For a moment, silence filled the air. Then a low rumble shook the ground above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. "They're here," she whispered. "They came back." Ethan grabbed his weapon and pulled her up. "Then let's make sure they find more than they expect." They ran through the tunnels as alien lights flashed outside. The sound of engines and strange alien voices echoed through the ruins. Lyra struggled to keep up, but Ethan didn't slow down. When they reached the surface, the night sky glowed red. Zorathian ships were descending, searching for survivors. Ethan looked at Lyra, her face pale under the glow. "You said they left you to die," he said. "Now's your chance to make them regret it." Lyra took a deep breath, her glowing eyes hardening. "Then let's make them pay." As the alien soldiers landed nearby, Ethan raised his rifle and Lyra lifted her hand. Blue energy flickered between her fingers, unstable, powerful, dangerous. The human and the alien stood side by side, enemies joined by pain and revenge. The sky thundered as the first alien ship opened fire, and for the first time in years, Ethan smiled. "Let's give them hell," he said. The night sky was burning red as the Zorathian ships hovered above the ruins. Their blue lights cut through the darkness like sharp blades. Ethan and Lyra hid behind a pile of broken steel, breathing hard, watching the alien patrols move like shadows. Ethan's hands tightened around his weapon. His heart pounded in his chest, but his face showed no fear, only cold focus. Lyra, still weak, leaned against the wall. Her glowing veins pulsed faster with fear. "They'll find us soon," she whispered. Ethan glanced at her. "Then we don't give them the chance." He peeked from behind the wall. There were 3 alien soldiers scanning the area. Their armor shone with the same blue energy as Lyra's veins. They were her people, but now they were her hunters. Lyra closed her eyes. "They can feel my energy. That's how they track me." Ethan turned toward her. "Can you stop it?" She shook her head. "Not completely, but maybe." I can confuse them. Before Ethan could ask, she placed her glowing hand on a broken power cable nearby. Blue sparks jumped between her fingers. The air hummed and suddenly the lights around them flickered wildly. What did you just do? Ethan asked. I'm sending false signals, she said. They'll think we're everywhere. Ethan gave a short nod. Good, then let's make that count. He threw a piece of metal across the ruins. The sound echoed and immediately the alien soldiers turned and fired toward the noise. While they were distracted, Ethan and Lyra moved silently toward an old transport tunnel. Inside, the air was cold and filled with dust. The tunnel went deep underground, the same place humans once used to hide from the alien invasion. The deeper they went, the darker it became until only Lyra's faint blue light guided the way. Ethan finally spoke. You said your family left you to die. Why? Lyra's voice trembled. Because I disobeyed. They ordered me to kill human children. But I couldn't. My mother said mercy was weakness. My father said I was a disgrace. So they threw me out of the ship and left me here. Ethan was silent for a long time. He could hear her voice breaking. So you tried to save human lives? She nodded. Yes, but it didn't matter. They don't forgive kindness. Ethan stopped walking. Then maybe you're not like them. Lyra looked at him with surprise. No one, not even her own kind, had ever said that to her. For the first time, she felt something new toward a human. Trust. But their moment was broken by a sudden noise, the screech of metal behind them. Ethan raised his weapon instantly. From the shadows, a small drone flew in, glowing red. It scanned the tunnel, then beeped sharply. Lyra's face turned pale. It's a scout. They know we're here. Ethan fired, hitting the drone, but it was too late. The alarm had already echoed through the air. A deep rumble followed from above. More ships, more soldiers. Run! Ethan shouted. They ran through the tunnel as explosions shook the ground. Dust and fire rained down. Lyra stumbled and Ethan caught her arm, pulling her forward. Ahead there was an old maintenance lift. This way! He yelled. They jumped into the lift and Ethan hit the control switch. The metal cage creaked as it started moving upward. But halfway up the power died. The lift stopped between two levels. Ethan cursed under his breath. Of course. Lyra closed her eyes and placed her hand on the control panel. Sparks danced again. The lift hummed, powered by her energy. Slowly it began to move again. Ethan looked at her, amazed. You're full of surprises, she smiled weakly. Don't get used to it. The lift reached the top and opened into an old control room. Through a cracked window they could see the alien mothership hovering in the distance. Massive, silent, and shining with blue light. Lyra's eyes widened. That's my family's ship, she whispered. My mother is there. Ethan stepped closer to the window. Then that's where we go next. Lyra turned to him, shocked. You want to attack the mothership? Not attack, Ethan said, his voice cold. We're going to send them a message. The last human isn't dead yet. Lyra hesitated. Her heart pounded. Part of her still feared her family. But another part burned with anger. She looked at Ethan. Then I'll help you. But once we're there, you might see something you're not ready for. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Try me. Outside, lightning flashed across the red sky. The war between human and alien wasn't over. It was just beginning. The storm outside raged through the sky, turning the red clouds into fire. The alien mothership floated above the ruins like a giant ghost, silent, glowing, and watching. Inside the control room, Ethan and Lyra stood in front of the cracked window, staring at it. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the wind howled through the broken walls. Ethan finally broke the silence. So that's where your family is? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes. My mother commands that ship. She leads the Zarathian fleet. Ethan's eyes darkened. Then she's the one who gave the order to destroy my people. Lyra looked down. She destroyed everything. Even me. Ethan turned away, gripping his rifle. He wanted to say something cruel, to blame her, to remind her what her kind did. But the look in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't proud. She was haunted. He took a deep breath. We need to get on that ship. You know a way in? Lyra hesitated. There's an old docking bay under the west wing. I used it to sneak out when I was small. But Ethan, if they see me, they'll kill us both. Then we make sure they don't see us, he said. His tone was cold, determined. I'm not leaving until your mother sees what she did. Lyra looked at him quietly. For the first time, she saw something other than hate in his eyes. A purpose, a strange kind of strength that frightened her and inspired her at the same time. The journey to the mothership. They waited until night turned to gray dawn. The wind had calmed, and the alien patrols moved slower now, scanning only the main roads. Ethan and Lyra slipped out through the tunnels and moved toward the mountain ridge, where the ship's shadow covered the ground. The mothership wasn't just metal. It was alive. Its surface pulsed like skin, glowing faintly with blue veins. Lyra placed her hand on the outer wall and the metal rippled under her touch. Ethan took a step back. "What is that?" "It responds to DNA," she whispered. "Only Zorathians can open it." The wall melted away, revealing a narrow passage. A faint hum filled the air. Ethan followed her inside, keeping his weapon ready. As they walked through the glowing corridors, Lyra's body seemed to react. The markings on her arms brightened. "The ship knows I'm here," she said softly. "It feels me." "Can it talk?" Ethan asked, half serious. "In a way," she replied. "It listens. It remembers." Ethan frowned. "Then let's hope it remembers who left you to die." The chamber of echoes, they reached a wide chamber filled with strange pods. Inside them floated Zorathian soldiers sleeping in blue liquid. Machines hummed around them, keeping them alive. Ethan stared in disbelief. "So this is how your people travel," he muttered. "Like machines in a dream." Lyra nodded sadly. "They don't dream. They only wait for commands." Ethan stepped closer to one of the pods and froze. The soldier inside looked exactly like Lyra, only older and stronger. Lyra's breath caught. "That's my sister, Eris." Ethan turned to her. "She looks alive." "She is," Lyra said. "But her mind isn't hers anymore. Mother controls her through the hive link." Before Ethan could reply, a loud hum shook the room. A voice, like cold, powerful, and echoing, had filled the air. "Lyra, my lost child." Lyra's face went pale. The walls shimmered as a holographic figure appeared, tall, glowing, with sharp silver eyes. It was Queen Salara, Lyra's mother. "I knew you would crawl back," the queen said. "And you bring a human?" "How pathetic." Ethan raised his gun, but Lyra stopped him. "Don't, she's not really here. It's a projection." Queen Salara smiled faintly. "You defied your blood once, daughter. You will not do it again." Lyra's voice trembled but stayed firm. "You left me to die, mother." The queen tilted her head. "You were weak. Mercy has no place among our kind." Ethan stepped forward. "Then maybe it's time someone showed you what mercy really means." The queen turned her gaze toward him, her eyes glowing brighter. "A human dares speak to me?" She raised her hand and the entire room pulsed with energy. Sparks filled the air. The sleeping soldiers began to stir. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm. "We have to go now." The pods cracked open, releasing the soldiers. Ethan fired at the control panel and alarms blared. The lights turned red. The floor started shaking. They ran through the hallway as the queen's voice echoed behind them. "You cannot hide forever, Lyra. You belong to me." The escape Ethan and Lyra reached the outer tunnel. The ship's walls were closing like a living creature. Ethan jumped through first, pulling Lyra behind him. They fell hard onto the rocky ground outside. The ship sealed shut above them, leaving only silence and the sound of distant thunder. Lyra lay still for a moment, breathing heavily. Tears mixed with the dust on her face. "She knows I'm alive now," she whispered. "She'll come for us." Ethan looked up at the ship in the sky. "Good," he said. "Let her come. Next time we won't run." The ground trembled long after the mothership disappeared into the clouds. The sky was quiet again, but Ethan and Lyra knew the silence wouldn't last. The queen had seen them. She would come. They sat beside the wreckage of an old human base. The wind whistled through broken antennas and the air smelled like rust and old memories. Ethan cleaned his weapon in silence. Lyra stared at the sky, her glowing eyes full of fear. "She found me," she whispered. "I thought I was free." But she never lets go. Ethan didn't look up. "Then we stopped running." Lyra frowned. "You don't understand, Ethan. My mother controls the Zorathian hive through a mind link. Every soldier feels her thoughts. If she focuses hard enough," she paused, her voice shaking, "she can control me too." Ethan froze. "Control you, like make you attack me?" Lyra nodded weakly. "Yes, if she chooses, she can use my body like a weapon." Ethan stood and stepped closer. "Then we need to break that link." Lyra shook her head. "No one has ever broken the Queen's bond." Ethan's voice was firm. "Then you'll be the first." For a long moment, Lyra said nothing. The wind blew strands of her silvery hair across her face. Inside, her heart was torn between fear and hope. No one had ever believed in her before. But Ethan's voice carried something she hadn't heard in years. Trust. The underground signal. That night, Ethan searched through the remains of the human base. He found old data drives, shattered monitors, and a single working console. Dust covered everything, but when he powered it on, the screen flickered with a weak glow. "What are you doing?" Lyra asked softly. "Finding a signal," Ethan said. "If any humans survived, maybe they're out there hiding like us." Lyra touched the console with her hand. Her energy pulsed through it, and suddenly the static cleared. A faint voice came through the speaker. "This is Outpost Vega 12. Survivors. We are under attack." Ethan's heart raced. "It's a distress call. Someone's still alive." But before they could respond, the signal broke apart with a sharp crackle. Lyra's hand jerked back, and a blue spark shot from her palm. She gasped, clutching her arm. "What happened?" Ethan asked quickly. Lyra looked terrified. "That wasn't just a human signal. My mother was listening too. She traced us through the network." Alarms on the console started flashing red. A deep humming filled the base, the same sound they heard from the mothership earlier. "She's coming," Lyra whispered. The shadow army outside. The sky exploded with blue light. Small dropships descended one by one, surrounding the ruins. Zarathian soldiers poured out, their weapons glowing. Their movements were fast, perfect, like puppets following a single mind. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. "We need to move, now!" They ran through the shattered halls, gunfire echoing behind them. Blue bolts of energy struck the walls, blasting holes through the metal. Dust filled the air. Ethan fired back, hitting one soldier, but another two replaced him instantly. Lyra's markings glowed brighter and brighter. She stopped, suddenly breathing hard. "Ethan, I can stop them." He turned. "What do you mean?" She closed her eyes. "They share one link, my mother's mind. If I connect to them, I can confuse it. Maybe just for a moment." Ethan hesitated. "You'll risk her taking control." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then I'll fight her from inside." Before he could stop her, she placed both hands on the ground. A wave of blue light burst outward, rippling across the battlefield. The Zarathian soldiers froze mid-step. Their eyes flickered like broken lights. Ethan stared in awe. "It's working." But Lyra's body trembled violently. Her veins glowed so bright they almost burned. Inside her mind, she heard her mother's voice, cold and cruel. "You dare fight me, child?" Lyra gritted her teeth. "You left me to die. Now I fight for them." The Queen's voice echoed through her mind. "You are nothing without me. I'm more than you made me." Lyra screamed, and the wave exploded outward, knocking every soldier to the ground. The price of power. When the light faded, Ethan ran to her side. Lyra was on her knees, breathing heavily, her skin pale. "You did it," he said softly. "They're all down." Lyra opened her eyes slowly. "For now." But I felt her. "She's angry. Next time she'll come herself." Ethan helped her stand. "Then we'll be ready." "You're not alone anymore." Lyra smiled weakly, her body shaking. "You don't understand, Ethan. Every time I use my power, I lose a piece of myself." Ethan looked at her, his expression hard but full of concern. "Then we'll find a way to stop it, and stop her." She stared at him, eyes glowing faintly. "Why do you care so much?" "Because," he said quietly, "you remind me of who we used to be, before the war took everything." Lyra looked down, tears in her glowing eyes. For the first time, she felt something stronger than fear. Hope. Far above them, the clouds cracked open. The Queen's mothership began to descend once more, darker and larger than before. Its voice echoed in the wind like thunder. "You cannot run forever, Lyra." Ethan looked up, his grip tightening on his rifle. "We're not running," he said. "This time we fight." The sky turned black as thunder rolled across the horizon. A storm was forming, not from nature, but from the mothership above. Its massive shadow stretched across the ruins like a dark hand ready to crush everything beneath it. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, staring up as lightning crackled around the alien vessel. The voice of Queen Salara echoed through the clouds, deep and cold. "You cannot fight destiny, Lyra. You are my blood." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, fear and anger mixing in her trembling voice. "She's here herself. She never leaves the ship unless she plans to end everything." Ethan loaded his weapon, his face expressionless. Then we give her a reason to regret coming. Lyra looked at him. You can't kill her with bullets. She's not like us. She's part of the hive. If she dies, the hive collapses. And so might I. Ethan froze for a moment. What do you mean? You might die too? Lyra looked down. Because she created me with a piece of her own life force. I'm connected to her. If one dies, the other. She trailed off. Ethan clenched his jaw. Then we find another way. The arrival. The ground shook violently as the Queen's landing ship touched the earth. The metal wings unfolded and glowing blue mist poured out like smoke. From it, Queen Salara emerged, tall, radiant, and terrifying. Her armor shimmered like crystal, and her silver eyes burned with power. Dozens of Zarathian guards surrounded her, moving in perfect unison. Salara's gaze fell on Lyra. My daughter, you've caused enough trouble. Lyra took a step forward. You call me your daughter, but you left me to die. The Queen tilted her head. I gave you life. You were weak and weakness must be erased. It was mercy to let you die quietly. Ethan aimed his rifle at her, stepping between them. You call that mercy? You destroyed my world, my people. You don't deserve to speak that word. Salara's cold smile grew. A human who thinks he can defy a queen. How quaint. She raised her hand, a blast of blue energy shot forward. Ethan jumped aside, the ground exploding where he stood. Dust and fire filled the air. Lyra screamed, raising her hands. A bright shield of light surrounded Ethan, stopping the next blast. Sparks danced around her as her markings burned brighter. The Queen's eyes narrowed. You've learned to control your power, impressive, but every spark you use returns to me. Lyra gasped as blue veins crawled up her arms, burning painfully. She's draining me. Ethan ran to her side, helping her stay upright. Fight it, Lyra. You're stronger than she is. No. Salara's voice echoed through their minds. She is mine. The inner battle Lyra fell to her knees, clutching her head. In her mind she saw endless darkness and the hive's mind full of whispering voices. And in the center of it all stood her mother. Salara reached out, her voice like poison. You cannot win, my child. Come back to me and I'll end your pain. Lyra shook her head. You ended my pain when you left me to die. Salara's image darkened. Then die again. Inside the psychic storm, Lyra's power began to fade. But then she heard another voice, faint but steady. Ethan's voice. Don't let her control who you are, Lyra. You're not her weapon. The words echoed through her mind like light breaking through the dark. Lyra's eyes opened. Her tears glowed as blue light flooded her body brighter than before. I'm not your creation, she whispered. I'm my own. Her body erupted in light, shattering the psychic connection. The Queen screamed as the hive link flickered. Energy surged outward, throwing Salara and her guards back. Ethan pulled Lyra to her feet. You did it. But Lyra shook her head weakly. Not yet. She's still too strong. The turning point. The Queen rose slowly, her armor cracked, eyes blazing. You think you can break me? Foolish child. Ethan raised his weapon again. We don't need to break you. We just need to make you afraid. Salara laughed, but for the first time her voice trembled slightly. Humans don't scare me, Ethan smirked. Not yet. He fired at a fuel tank behind her. The explosion ripped through the battlefield, flames spreading around the Queen. Her soldiers scattered. Lyra used the chaos to send a burst of energy into the Queen's chest, pushing her backward. Salara screamed in fury, retreating toward her ship. You cannot hide from me forever, Lyra. I will return, and when I do, Earth will burn again. The ship rose into the storm, vanishing into the clouds. The ground stopped shaking. Silence returned. Aftermath. Ethan and Lyra stood among the ashes. The ruins glowed faintly in the distance. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted. Ethan knelt beside her. She'll come back, Lyra whispered. She won't stop until one of us is gone. Ethan looked at the sky. Then we prepare. We'll find her weakness together. Lyra smiled faintly through the pain. You really think a human and a half-alien girl can stop a queen? Ethan gave a small, confident grin. We already made her run once. That's a start. Lightning flashed across the clouds, lighting their faces. The storm wasn't over. It was just waiting. 3 days had passed since the Queen's retreat. The skies over the colony were strangely quiet now, almost peaceful. But Ethan knew it was only the calm before the next storm. The Queen would return. She always did. Lyra sat near the campfire, staring into the flames. Her blue eyes flickered softly, reflecting the light. She hadn't slept in days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her mother's face whispering inside her mind. Ethan approached, carrying an old data drive he'd scavenged from the ruins. "Found this in the base," he said. "Might tell us something about what really happened before the Zorathians came." Lyra looked up weakly. "You still think your people can save this planet?" Ethan shrugged. "Maybe not, but we deserve to know why it was destroyed." He inserted the drive into a half-broken console. The screen flickered to life, showing an old human recording, a scientist speaking hurriedly. "Project Genesis. Experimental contact with an unknown energy source. Coordinates point to deep under the Earth's crust. We believe it's not natural." The screen crackled and static filled the air. Then a final line appeared in red letters. "Zorathian origin, human experiment gone wrong." Ethan froze. "Wait, are they saying your people came from us?" Lyra's eyes widened. "That's impossible." But as she said it, something deep in her chest began to ache. Fragments of memory flashed through her mind. Laboratories, bright lights, humans in white suits, and a child floating inside a glass chamber. She gasped. "No, I remember this place." Ethan stared at her. "What are you talking about?" Lyra pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. "My mother, she wasn't born on Zorathia. She was created here, on Earth." The hidden laboratory, the revelation hit them both like thunder. Without another word, Ethan packed his gear. "If there's any chance this is true, we need to find that lab." Lyra nodded slowly, fear and curiosity fighting inside her. "It's buried deep underground. The Queen always said it was a place of shame, a place we were never to return to." They traveled for hours across the wastelands until they reached an ancient crater surrounded by broken towers. At the center, a giant metal door lay half buried in sand and debris. The words "Genesis Facility" were faintly visible. "This is it," Ethan whispered. Lyra placed her glowing hand on the door. The metal came alive with blue light, unlocking with a deep rumble. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. Long hallways stretched into darkness, lined with shattered glass chambers and decaying machines. As they walked deeper, Lyra felt her markings glow brighter. The walls seemed to respond to her presence. "It remembers me," she murmured. Ethan scanned the room with his flashlight. "What do you mean?" She stopped in front of a large chamber with a cracked observation window. Inside was a massive containment pod, still glowing faintly after all these years. On its side, faded text read, "Subject 0, Prototype Hybrid." Lyra's breath caught. "That's my mother." The Queen's secret. Suddenly, the pod flickered to life and a recorded hologram appeared. A scientist's voice echoing through the room. Subject 0 showed rapid evolution beyond human control. The experiment was meant to save humanity, but it created something new, something superior. We lost control of her. She escaped the lab and took the others with her. Project Genesis failed. Lyra's knees weakened. So that's why she hates humans. She was their mistake. Ethan's voice was low. And she wants revenge on the ones who made her. Lyra turned toward him, her face pale. But if she was born here, then her power is connected to the Earth itself. Ethan realized what that meant. If she destroys Earth, she destroys her own life source. The ground suddenly began to shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. Blue lightning flickered through the corridors. Lyra's eyes widened. She's coming. She knows we found the truth. The return, the wall split open and from the cracks emerged a glowing blue mist. The Queen's projection towering and furious. "You dare dig into what must stay buried?" Her voice boomed. Ethan raised his weapon, but Lyra stepped forward. "Why hide it, Mother? Why pretend you're a god when you were made by humans?" Salara's voice trembled with rage. "Because they made me a monster. They called me an experiment, a mistake. I gave my kind purpose, perfection, while humans only destroyed their world." Ethan shouted, "You're still destroying it." The Queen's eyes glowed like fire. "Then it will burn with me." The entire facility shook violently. Alarms blared. The containment chambers burst one by one, releasing strange blue light. Lyra struggled to stay on her feet. "Ethan!" she cried. "She's drawing power from the core." Ethan grabbed her arm. "Then we cut her off and we end this connection." The decision, they ran toward the central reactor where the light was brightest. Energy pulsed like a heartbeat through the walls. At the core was a glowing sphere, the same energy that created the Zerathians. Lyra stared at it, tears in her eyes. If I destroy it, she dies. But so do I, Ethan shook his head. There has to be another way. She smiled softly. You humans always look for another way. Maybe that's why you survived this long. Ethan grabbed her hand tightly. I'm not losing you too. Lyra looked into his eyes, and for a moment time stopped. Then promise me one thing. Remember that not all monsters are born evil. Some are made. Before he could stop her, she stepped forward, into the glowing core. The world around Ethan exploded in blue light. The walls of the Genesis facility began to melt and twist as energy poured from the reactor. Lyra's body was lost in the storm of light, her voice echoing faintly through the chaos. Ethan, don't come closer. But he didn't listen. He fought through the wind and heat, pushing forward. His skin burned, his vision blurred, but he could still see her. Floating at the center of the energy core, her arms spread wide, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. The Queen's voice filled the room like thunder. You cannot stop destiny, child. You are part of me, and so is he. Ethan shouted, She's not yours anymore, and fired his weapon into the reactor conduits. Sparks flew everywhere. The ground shook violently. Lyra turned her head slightly, her voice calm but full of pain. Ethan, if you destroy it now, Earth will collapse. The core powers everything, and even the atmosphere. He stopped, breathing hard. Then what do we do? Lyra looked at him with sadness. You have to let me go. Ethan's heart dropped. No, there's always another way. Her smile was small, almost peaceful. That's what makes you human. The Queen's fury. The light gathered into a storm as Queen Salara appeared again, no longer just a projection, but her real self, formed from energy and rage. She hovered above the reactor, her silver eyes burning. You think you can erase me? She roared. I am the first of our kind. Without me, your precious world dies. Lyra floated higher, her voice trembling but firm. Then maybe it's time for something new to live. Salara screamed, sending a blast of energy that hit Lyra like a hammer. She cried out in pain. Ethan ran forward, firing again and again at the Queen, but the bullets dissolved before reaching her. Salara turned to him, her voice cold as ice. Human, you fought bravely, but bravery cannot change what is written. Ethan clenched his jaw. Then I'll rewrite it. He leapt toward the main control panel and slammed his hand onto the emergency override. The reactor began to overload. Red lights flashed. Warning sirens blared. Salara's eyes widened. What have you done? Ethan shouted over the noise. You said this core connects you to the Earth. If it explodes, that connection ends, and for both of you. Lyra's body glowed brighter. Ethan, no. You'll die too. He looked up at her. I told you, I'm not losing you alone. The final battle. The air was alive with lightning. Salara screamed and lunged at Ethan, her claws glowing like molten steel, but Lyra moved faster, slamming into her mother with a burst of pure energy. The two collided in a storm of blue and white light, their powers crashing against each other like waves. Ethan shielded his eyes as the chamber filled with fire and wind. Salara's voice echoed in rage and desperation. You think you can destroy me? I am your blood. Lyra's voice rose above the roar. Then I end that bloodline. She drew all the energy from the core into herself. Her body shone like a second sun. For one brief moment, the Queen's face softened. A flash of regret, maybe love or maybe fear. Then both of them vanished in a burst of light so bright it swallowed everything. The sound was deafening. Then, silence. The aftermath. Ethan woke hours later, lying among ashes and twisted metal. The Genesis facility was gone, reduced to a crater glowing faintly in the morning light. He sat up slowly, coughing. Lyra? No answer. Only the wind. He looked around desperately, calling her name again and again. Finally, he saw something shining in the dirt, a small crystal shard faintly glowing blue. He picked it up carefully. Inside the crystal, for just a second, he thought he saw her face smiling softly. She did it, he whispered. She saved us. The sky above was no longer red or stormy. It was clear, soft blue, the first real morning Earth had seen in years. The air smelled like rain instead of smoke. Ethan stood holding the glowing shard close to his chest. You didn't die, Lyra. You became part of the planet, part of everything. The new dawn. Weeks later, the surviving humans began to return from hiding. The colony was in ruins, but there was life again. Green plants growing through cracks in the ground. The air warmer, cleaner. Ethan led a small group to rebuild. Every night he placed the glowing shard in the center of the new base where it pulsed gently like a heartbeat. And sometimes, when the wind blew softly, he could almost hear her voice. "You kept your promise. You remembered." He smiled quietly, looking up at the stars. "She didn't destroy the earth," he said to himself. "She became its guardian." Far above, among the stars, a faint blue light moved across the sky. Peaceful. Eternal. Ethan whispered, "Goodbye, Lyra." But deep inside, he knew it wasn't goodbye. It was only the beginning of something new. A bond between human and alien, forged not in hatred, but in sacrifice and love.